Welcome to This Explainer. We've got a seriously wild ride ahead of us today. We're going to take a super fast, high-energy tour of this week's chaotic global news. We're talking political shockwaves, extreme weather, and some totally crazy financial markets. And then, we're going to pivot hard. We're diving deep into the massive sci-fi level backlash against artificial intelligence that's sweeping across the globe right now. So let's get into it, because we have a lot of ground to cover.
As we go through this, I want you to keep one big question in the back of your mind. Is AI going to save the world or destroy our future? We're seeing how insanely fast the world is changing, and technology is right at the heart of it. So is it our greatest salvation or our biggest threat? Just hold on to that thought.
First up, global shakeups, politics, protests, and power. Let's take a look at the political shockwaves hitting practically every corner of the globe this week. The situation inside Russia right now is incredibly complex. Imagine a massive billboard screaming, "Victory in Ukraine is ours," but right underneath it, everyday citizens are just trying to scrape by. They're way more concerned with buying cheap goods, like a shirt for 500 rubles, while their economy burns and strains around them. It is a powerful, real-world contrast that perfectly captures their growing war fatigue.
Meanwhile, over in India, youth frustration is literally boiling over. Get this, a staggering 2.2 million medical students hit the streets demanding the education minister resign. Why? Well, it turns out the test papers for their absolutely crucial medical exams had been leaked on messaging apps. And what's really fascinating is who's actually leading these protests. It's a rapidly growing political movement of fed-up young voters calling themselves the Cockroach Janta Party. I mean, it just shows how quickly local administrative failures can spark massive organized youth movements, right?
And honestly, power is shifting everywhere else too. In Hungary, the new centrist prime minister launched these massive anti-corruption reforms, dubbed Operation Cleansing Fire. Meanwhile, the U.S. Congress actually managed to pass a rare bipartisan housing bill to relax regulations and spur construction. Who would have thought? And incumbents are falling fast. Democratic Socialists just swept the New York City congressional primaries, while the UK's Labour Party is dealing with a huge wave of top-level resignations. The global political map is literally being redrawn week by week. Now on to Earth extremes, heat waves, and earthquakes. Because it's not just politics, the Earth itself is having a highly volatile week. Much of Western Europe is absolutely boiling under a record-smashing heat wave. France just hit its hottest day since records began way back in 1947. The thermometer hit a staggering 44.3 degrees Celsius, that's 111.7 degrees Fahrenheit, just south of Bordeaux. And this isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly. At least 48 drowning incidents were reported as people desperately plunged into rivers just to cool off. It's sparking these intense, perennial debates across Europe about whether it's finally time to just widely install air conditioning.
Across the world, in Venezuela, a completely different kind of natural extreme hit. Two powerful earthquakes struck just 125 miles west of Caracas. Buildings collapsed, entire transport systems were completely shut down, and tragically, this all went down right in the middle of a national holiday, which meant a lot of people were trapped at home rather than being out at work.
Okay, moving to a wild week for tech money, crashes and replacements. Let's pivot from physical extremes to the absolute financial extremes we witnessed this week. It's been an absolute roller coaster. You can practically feel the tension on the trading floors right now. Tech valuations and deep-seated fears about artificial intelligence are completely rattling investors worldwide. We're seeing this massive push and pull between the sky-high valuations of AI firms and the very real looming prospect of higher interest rates. To put that volatility into perspective, just look at SpaceX's trajectory. It tells a wild story of how fast fortunes can change. After launching its IPO at $135 and climbing way past $200, a violent crash wiped some $400 billion with a B dollars off their market value in just a matter of days. It is a stark reminder of the gravity present even in the most hyped sectors of the tech market. But honestly, beyond the stock prices, the reality of tech replacing human jobs is accelerating right before our eyes. Oracle just revealed they erased 21,000 jobs over 12 months, and they actually explicitly noted that AI supplanted some of those workers. Meanwhile, in China, the boss of JD.com confidently predicted that robots will soon replace their 700,000 human delivery drivers. 700,000! They're telling workers they'll need to be retrained just to maintain and repair their new automated colleagues. And that brings us to our deep dive, the great AI backlash, because that tangible threat to livelihoods is bringing things to a head. This isn't just a fringe movement anymore, it's going totally mainstream.
Ordinary people in the West are really starting to view AI as a literal, sci-fi level threat to their existence. Think of a menacing robotic skull mounted on a spike. That's the vibe right now. The technology has long terrified the techies who actually build it. But lately, voters are feeling the angst too. AI is becoming deeply unpopular and it's rapidly climbing up the political agenda.
And here's the crucial point. This isn't just people complaining on the internet. This is having massive real-world impacts. Protests against the environmental drain of data centers, the massive facilities that actually power these AI models, have already scuppered nearly $100 billion worth of AI projects in America alone. People are actively pushing back against having these huge, resource-hungry facilities in their backyards.
The debate here is incredibly intense. On one side, you have the fear. Opponents are warning about a looming job apocalypse, drained local water supplies to cool those data centers, and even extreme scenarios like AI-engineered superviruses that could wipe out humanity. Heavy stuff, right? But looking at the promise side, supporters argue AI is going to change the world for the better, kind of like electricity did. They point out that choking off AI right now could cost us miraculous breakthroughs, stuff like new mRNA vaccines, vital green technology, and the massive surge in economic growth the world desperately needs.
Plus, we absolutely cannot ignore the geopolitical stakes here because they are massive. If Western countries regulate AI into the ground out of fear or starve it of computing power, authoritarian nations like China will simply take the lead in both civilian and military AI capabilities. History shows us that very few countries ever manage to catch up with the first movers. If the West falls behind on this frontier, the losses could be entirely unrecoverable. Which brings us to surviving the AI era, how to fix the AI problem. So how do we actually survive this messy transition without destroying the technology or ruining people's lives? Well, The Economist lays out a really pragmatic 4-step roadmap for politicians and tech companies to cool this toxic backlash and integrate AI safely. The 4 pointers are: spread the benefits, regulate hard where necessary, measure everything accurately, and visibly use AI to make the state better. Let's break down what that actually means in practice. First up, spreading the benefits means introducing concepts like wage insurance. Basically, if people lose their jobs to algorithms, they need financial protection so they actually have an economic stake in AI's overall progress, instead of just being victims of it. Meanwhile, regulating hard and measuring everything focuses on strictly preventing nightmare scenarios, like AI-enabled cyberterrorism, and getting the real facts out there. For example, did you know that modern data centers actually use much less water in total than America's golf courses? Yeah, facts cure misinformation. Ultimately, the final and probably most important step is using AI to visibly improve public services. Because think about it, if this technology actually makes filing your taxes a breeze, or if it seamlessly powers your grandmother's cancer treatment, or personalizes your child's education, would you still oppose it? The fear will finally start to fade. Persuading people that their interests are actually being served by this disruption is now just as important as making the AI models themselves better. If we fail to do that, we risk destroying vast opportunities for humanity. And that's the big takeaway for you from this explainer today. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep questioning how these massive shifts are going to shape our tomorrow.